The V10 Beamer is gone. It was such an awesome car, but it was time for a change. And what I've bought is quite a change. Let me give you some clues. We've dropped 7 cylinders, we've dropped over 4 litres of displacement, but it is still rear-wheel drive and manual. Some of you may have looked at the thumbnail, title, and heard those clues, and you will know exactly what this car is. Let me go fetch it. Welcome everyone to a new DriveTribe project car, a 1994 Suzuki Cappuccino. Let me give you the rundown on this thing. It is a front mid-engined manual rear-wheel drive double wishbone multi-link suspension wielding Japanese sports car. What a package! Generally, I'm not one for naming cars, but there's something about this thing that's got under my skin that I think warrants one. So I've decided to call him Yuki. 1, because it rhymes with Suzuki. 2, because I like everything Red Bull, which means I'm a fan of the AlphaTauri F1 team, and one of my favourite racing drivers is Yuki Tsunoda. And 3, I simply think he looks like a Yuki. Say hello to Yuki. Yuki. He is truly tiny. In case you don't know, a Suzuki Cappuccino is a Japanese K car, a sector of the car industry where cars had to be tiny and be powered by equally tiny engines, no more than 660 cc's, which generally worked out at 3 cylinders. The Japanese government made it cheaper and easier for manufacturers to make K cars, which translated from Japanese literally means light motor vehicle. These cars were initially made very cheaply from recycled motorcycle parts and presented tax benefits both for companies and consumers. These micro cars also had their own gentleman's agreement, like our favourite Japanese performance cars from the 1990s. The big boys had a 280 horsepower limit, the K car limit 64 metric horsepower. Yes, Yuki puts out 60, well actually in our money, the Cappuccino puts out 63 proper horsepower. But yeah, that's not much more than Oliver. We wouldn't be able to buy cars like Yuki and do cool stuff with them if it weren't for our sponsors supporting the channel. And today's video is sponsored by, well, can you guess? No, it's not Discovery Channel Shark Week, it's Surfshark. We will soon be going abroad to film some European content, and while we're there we're going to be signing into a lot of different Wi-Fi sources to upload content, to do social media, effectively run DriveTribe. And having a VPN or virtual private network like Surfshark can keep you safe and secure while you're doing so. When you're using some unsafe networks, people can sometimes see your online data. Some of them can even look at your download history and view your location. You don't want that. By using a VPN, it will encrypt your online data and make sure anyone malicious stays the hell away from your stuff. Another great feature is that you can use servers from other countries. So, all of you people complaining that you can't watch Richard Hammond's new show, Richard Hammond's Workshop, you can get Surfshark and select a server from the UK and watch his new show. Stuff like this. So, click the link in the description below where you will get 83% off your Surfshark subscription and the 3 months for free. Also, Surfshark are running a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can get your money straight back. Click the link in the description below. Happy surfing! I could get used to this. Anyway, back to little Yuki in Wales. So, the new car on the channel has a 0.6 litre triple. There might be some of you thinking I've completely lost the plot, but bear with me on this one. Let me explain why this car makes so much sense and why it's quite special. So, the engine is a 3-cylinder, but it has some help. It is a 3-cylinder turbo. Hey! It's quite hard to see the turbo in the engine bay. It must be the size of a thimble, but the way it delivers its power is so interesting. It has a dollop of turbo lag, I think simply due to the lack of air flowing through it because everything's so small. But once you get through that turbo lag, you put your foot down and the little green boost light switches on the dash. It is not slow because it revs and revs and revs. The rev counter only starts to go red at 9,000 RPM. It gets quite red at 10,000, but it keeps going all the way around to 12,000 RPM. That will be aided by the fact that it's mostly motorcycle parts, but 12,000 RPM in a road car is pretty much unheard of, apart from in K cars. Yes, he only has 63 horsepower, but that is not the full story. You have to combine the factors of this car. K cars, fundamentally, because of their size, are very light. This cappuccino only weighs 725 kilograms. You combine that with the torque of the turbocharger and the revs, the Suzuki Cappuccino is not slow. Yuki can shift. And that brings me on to the next great thing about the Cappuccino, which is its size. I live in Bath, which is quite an old school city with some quite tight streets. And this Suzuki just flies up them. It dances through town without a problem at all. In fact, it's been quite an interesting social experiment with other drivers, because they will see me in front of them go through a gap or a tight squeeze past the car, and they think, well, I've just seen a car go through there, I can do that too. And they really come a cropper. I've seen everything from Range Rovers all the way down to small city hatchbacks, which are still giant compared to this, absolutely bugger their alloys or have small scrapes because they thought they could fit through the same space as this. Another reason I've bought this car is that the world has changed recently. In our little microcosmic passion of cars, one of the main issues recently has been fuel prices. Through a combination of war and transportation issues and a whole load of other gubbins, that has been the thing that's hit us in the back pocket the most over the last couple of years. So, the aim with this car is to have as much fun as possible, as frugally as possible. You can rev it out to 9,000 RPM and the fuel gauge just doesn't go anywhere. It's amazing. You do that in the M5, you can visibly see it moving as you push the throttle down. But in this thing, it seems to sip fuel in comparison. The running costs of this versus the M5 will seem like buttons, but from what I've experienced, I don't think it's going to be any less fun. If anything, it might be more fun. Then there's the titan of the car industry, something that came along and dominated its niche ever since it came out, the Mazda MX-5.
Automobile of the Year, Automobile Magazine. One of the world's 5 best cars, Road and Track. Car of the Year, Modern Motor. The Dream is now available with automatic transmission.
Be it Fiat, Alfa Romeo, Toyota, Honda, MG, none of them have taken on the MX-5 and come out on top in the entry-level sports car market. And in that, we have a mission. Can we make the Suzuki Cappuccino the new go-to entry-level sports car? Can this be cheaper to run, more fun, and with a bit of work, faster than the King? We may be starting with a third of the engine displacement and dimensions that make the MX-5 look giant, but can this thing be a better car than an MX-5? Can we convince young drivers, like I imagine many of you watching this now, to be searching for these rather than some crusty driveway spec Mazda? Well, I've come up with a plan. To start with, we'll be upgrading the suspension and brakes along with the wheels and tyres to create a solid base for a quick car. Only then will we turn to either turning up the stock turbo or fully upgrading the turbo along with an ECU that will chat to the car and hopefully talk it into creating a bit more power. The number in my head is 100 horsepower on the nose. Hopefully that's not asking too much of that tiny engine, because I reckon that power hike combined with how light this car is should be enough to topple the Mazda. The DriveTribe channel has suddenly become quite Japanese, what with Richard's Impreza, Yuki and my import Jaguar XKR. It should be a nice refresh for the content, and we're going to crack on filming as much as we can for you guys. Everyone loves an underdog, and I reckon this thing could become one of the pluckiest little cars on YouTube. Apparently, Richard wants to have a go fairly soon. Hold off on the obvious jokes though, they're not that funny. So, you've heard my plan with the car. What would you like to see us do with Yuki? Comment below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DriveTribe.